Thank you for attending the second CNCM teacher sharing session. Our free teacher sessions will be an ongoing program designed to assist teachers in a variety of topics. As always, contact the CNCM office when you are in need of further assistance or information. If you missed the October session, an introduction to the Music for Everyone pop program, and in particular, this stream is available for viewing on our new YouTube channel. My name is Noreen Broomhead, and today I will be exploring the Music for Everyone performance program with you. Today, the focus is the performance curriculum of the Music for Everyone exam program. I might add that this examination platform has been very well received, and many students have taken these examinations with great success. You might ask, why? I'm sorry, my slide did not advance. Why would I teach or recommend the STAR Performance Program to my student? The answers are many. To cite a few, students face many opportunities for extracurricular activities, and their practice time is so limited, so a lighter repertoire load makes success more attainable. Teachers new to CNCM will find the Music for Everyone program a gentle way to become familiar with the CNCM examination system and requirements. Exams are done in a recital format, and students are able to invite an audience to be supportive. Music for Everyone STAR performance examinations were created to provide students, teachers, and parents with an opportunity pardon me, sorry, I'm sporting in a cold here and I have a little bit of interruption going on. I apologize for that. Just to back up, the performance platform offers an opportunity to share a testing experience in a casual manner. Teacher, parents, and audience in attendance. And of course, those people would be at the invitation of the candidate. This platform would encourage students to goal set and prepare for an assessment in a shorter period of time, allowing for greater focus on smaller numbers of requirements. It offers busy students and adult students a manageable amount of repertoire to learn and to polish, pardon me, to suit a busy work or extracurricular schedule. It offers an opportunity for students who may be reluctant to take on a full performance examination program, a less exacting amount of preparation. This program develops performance and deportment, also known as etiquette skills, builds confidence and self-esteem. I also believe that it encourages development of self-discipline. We're just going to take a look at how the actual program works. From page 15 of the current piano syllabus, which is available free at cncm.ca. So, the format for this exam is a performance of 4 contrasting own choice piano solos at the designated level. One solo must be Canadian from the Northern Lights series. Memory is recommended, not required. And I think this is appropriate time to talk about how important encouraging correct memory work at an early level is. All too often, students just kind of put their hands on the keys and the fingers go and they just trust it's going to work. But they haven't really learned a foundation to build their memory skills on. discussion of how the piece is made, simple things like fingering and what note the piece starts on. So that's just to name a few things that would play into building a solid memory, which is going to carry through with more challenges at every grade level. The candidate has the option to also perform one original composition that they have written, but it does require that they get pre-approval from the registrar. The second area is the same four areas as required for the regular CNCM performance examinations. And if you refer to pages 8 and 9 in our CNCM syllabus, they are completely laid out. And at any time, if you have questions, I can go back and highlight any of these. I think they will be covered in my future slides here. So these are part of our repertoire requirements. A poster or a written program. Posters will be at the introductory level. Written programs will start from grade 1 or level E moving forward. An oral presentation. And examiners are looking for just a little bit of information about each selection that they are going to perform. To have poise and not feel anxious, to seem happy to be there and performing. And performance etiquette, well, that goes that introduce yourself to your audience and bowing after each selection and thanking your audience at the end of your performance. And the fourth item is repertoire selection. Students may take any level in the Music for Everyone performance program without any prerequisite, and they may proceed to any level or grade. So a complete credit would require, if you were looking for a complete certification in the Music for Everyone program, the POP certificate, successful completion, also for the performance program and corresponding musicianship. The repertoire is for our own choice pieces of a level equal to any primer levels, method book, or Northern Lights pre-reader as follows. One Canadian work must be included. They should demonstrate a contrast in tempo, meter, and style, and memory is recommended, but not required. Their oral presentations, a brief introduction for each piece is required. And it can be simple things like, I like this piece. It makes me happy. The title makes me imagine whatever comes to their mind. An example is Dinosaur Stomp. They can say who the composer is and what the sounds make them think, like big reptiles chasing each other. So we're trying to engage their own personal imagination and creativity in this area. A poster is to be created by the candidate at these A, B, C, D levels, and they should include the following pieces of information. The level, i.e. Northern Lights, Anderson, may be identified simply as A level, star performance. The date and location of their performance exam, the time, and artwork by the student related to the music, composers, names, and titles of the selected works. So these would be arranged maybe on a poster board. That's probably the most convenient that I've seen students use, and it's exciting to see the creativity that goes into these And I think that they develop a pride in what they're presenting in those. And performance etiquette, I touched on that a little bit. There's a little comment on it on page 9 of the CNCM syllabus. As the grades accelerate, there is more expectation according to the grade level on these areas. So the length of their oral presentations, the program content, things like that. Their repertoire must be one Canadian work, 3 other works with contrast in tempo, meter, and style appropriate to the level. Again, a reference can be made to the CNCM syllabus on page 10. And this is a good opportunity for me to say that we have our complete set of Northern Lights repertoire books, and there are available making track books from CNCM, and they cover a variety of grades too. So there are adequate resources there for your Canadian content. Looking at levels A, B, C, D, they're all introductory levels and each reflect progress through the primer levels or Northern Lights primers and 3 method books or a 4th book in a method series or Northern Lights primer pre-grade 1. As with all grade name levels, a Canadian composer's name has been designated in honor of their contributions to Canadian musics. Levels A, B, C, D are each 10 minutes in length. All-star performance levels follow the same requirements as set out on page 13 of the piano syllabus. Excuse me. Ernst level E, grade 1, forward will require written identical programs. So that's to say that students performing at their examinations are expected to provide a program to the examiner and to one for each of their audience members that they've invited. These programs are to be exactly the same for each person. Programs may be handmade, which gives them the opportunity for creativity and their own artwork, colorful, however they wish to go with that. They may also be computer generated. As the levels progress, there will be more information to be included on the programs, and page 9 of the syllabus outlines this. Programs for level 7 to associate require program notes to also be included. As the levels progress, the time limit will increase for each exam. So, for example, all the A to Ds, 10 minutes in length. And you will see if you compare this to the standard examination program, this is 5 minutes shorter. And then grade 2 through to grade 6, they're 15 minutes long. And grade 7 to 8 are 20 minutes in length. Grade 9, 25 minutes. Grade 10 is 40 minutes, as is the associate is 40 minutes. And that is the end of the slides. So I would invite some conversation, questions, feedback. I know some of you have taught these programs, so I think it's always good if we can share the successes and maybe even the questions that come up about this. Personally, I've found that parents receive these quite well. I found that as a teacher, I've experienced that as an examiner. Um, the kids just feel so comfortable and fostered and nurtured through this process, and it takes so much of the stress away. Any comments, questions?
Thank you so much for that presentation, Noreen. That was really helpful. I do have some questions, but I'm just gonna wait for a minute just in case some other people would like to jump in first. I think we have a couple of teachers on here, so if you guys have any general questions, please feel free to ask.
Noreen, I was just going to say that in addition to what you already mentioned, that these exams are wonderful for busy students and um, for a lighter load. They also work really well if we have students with neurological issues, whether that's seizures or ability to focus or things like that. I find for some of them it's just too hard to do a full exam, and these are so much more manageable. So it really addresses even physical limitations.
Yeah, and I appreciate that information because I think that that kind of speaks back to our CNCM philosophy of being a holistic program. So we try to meet students where they're at. Um, Adult students find challenges in trying to balance a busy home life, but their hearts in wanting to make music and being able to say I did this performance exam gives them a great sense of accomplishment. It builds self-esteem. Um, and as an adult, it's nice to have that little pick me up and I did something for myself that's wonderful.
And Noreen, I would add to that for sure that adult students especially benefit from this program.
Yeah.
And I also think it's a great transition or partner for anyone who hasn't done CNCM exams to come in and try our performance exams and get that personal recital format. Parents tend to really love what happens at
Yeah.
our recital program examination and are very excited about that once they've experienced it. It's hard to judge because historically that's not what we've been familiar with. But another place that this works really well is just going to throw this out for teachers, but it's a great place for students who are auditioning for university or college programs to set up one of these exams and have feedback and practice playing for more than a single person and getting ready for their juries at university and that sort of thing. And so even if they've only prepared 3 or 4 pieces, sorry, for that audition, this is a great chance to be able to perform these in a place where they get feedback and they get their certificate, of course, to talk about this is a milestone for them.
Yeah. In response to your comment about we're offering the opportunity for a recital format where the audience can come and sit in, that's actually a strong comfort for some people that are kind of a little hesitant nowadays about, I'm going to turn my child over to somebody that's a complete stranger. Um, that's maybe an outside way of looking at this, but I definitely believe there is substance to that comment that we always can say that it's nice for the kids. They know mom and dad or grandma or whoever's there, or the teacher can be there. But for the parent to give over their child is something too. So,
I just have a question about that. If a child isn't comfortable having an audience there? Is it okay if it's just them and the examiner? Like I think we have the workshop examinations for the more traditional format that wouldn't have as much of an audience. Would that also be okay in this situation?
Well, I think it would because I believe we try to accommodate as much as we can, however we can. And if that was the extreme desire, and they're going there just to have a deadline to have something ready and perform and have it graded. If that's what they're about, I think that that's acceptable. They would still be expected to come with a program to share, as far as presenting an oral presentation, the little ones, a poster, that expectation will still stand.
Right, that makes sense. I'm even thinking like if adult students like doing this, I know that I've taught a lot of adults that it might be a really good goal for them, but they have like a lot of PTSD from younger experiences in performing or just aren't comfortable having more people there. So thank you.
Yep.
I've actually had that situation where the student allowed mom to come in, but it was only mom, and did the entire performance as if it was a full audience and really enjoyed it. And I followed her a little bit, and she actually by the next year had an audience. And so it was really fun to watch that. They just needed whatever security they needed for that moment, and set them up for moving forward in performance, as opposed to even the workshop exam where it's very, very traditional and they don't have the same experience as they would with the interaction of some audience members. It's important to, when you're trying to sell it too, I think, and all of us have talked about this before, is that if you can remind that person who's doing that performance, they handpicked their audience. So everyone who's there absolutely loves them and adores them. And it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to think they are absolutely fantastic in that moment. And so that experience in itself is really, really valuable, to just know how that feels. And with all the performance exams, and I think all of you who have done the exams would agree, is that you can see that child just relax after that first piece is performed, and the applause and smiles and love that's being generated from the audience just feeds them, and they just relax and go on to have a great time.
Well, some of them just feed on that, actually. Yeah.
It's
But
really true. Similar to what Debbie just said, I've had students who only wanted mom and myself there. And the next student wanted half the community there and invited the class from school. So that was true for full performance exams as well as star performance. So either way, I mean, it works however you look at it, and the flexibility to accommodate each student's needs is really quite wonderful.
well, and I think all our programs in general, they're about building life skills. Like get up and do an oral presentation. You might have to do that at school or somewhere in your life, depending on what road you follow. I'm just thinking that if students get to have the opportunity to go to a professional um, um, concert, like an orchestra or something, they will be handed a program. They'll have an understanding of why am I being handed this little booklet? And they feel they have a step up on things to a large extent because it's just more knowledge that they have. And the other thing I think that we can't sell short is the value of these programs to teachers, especially the ones that are new to CNCM. CNCM looks entirely different than a lot of the other Canadian school programs that are out there. And grade to grade, CNCM levels up with those other Canadian schools. It is work maybe for the teachers to grasp implementing all these skills. And I'm talking a broader range here. It's if you're going to do the pop performance, which takes in improv, transposition, lead line, two pieces, but it's a nice way that the teachers are getting their feet wet, not just the students, on a new exam system. And they won't be long becoming comfortable with what has to happen here. And if their kids are successful, as in the students, they're going to feel better about themselves as teachers too. So I think we're building music students, but we're building good teachers too.
And I mean, as teachers, I think we have this voracious love of learning. So if we can learn some things that will give our students the skills that they want and that they need, that's always very exciting,
Yep.
even if there's a bit of a learning curve um, at the beginning. But
Well, I think those challenges to students or teachers are valuable. It keeps us from becoming stagnant. Right? We have to look forward.
definitely.
The times are changing all the time, and we have to look at ways to keep students engaged and the parents. It's a lot of this speaks to how you keep your family supporting them too.
It's true, which can be very tricky in our very busy
It
world
is a
that we have.
busy world.
Mhm.
And just in it, that comment that you've just made brings to the fore something that happens with CN performance exams. And that is
Pardon me.
mom or dad can't say, well, just do your best, go in and do the exam, do your best. You're never going to see this person again. Don't worry about it. Mom and dad now have some ownership because they are going to be there with that child. They are going to witness what's happening. So they tend to get more plugged in because there's more ownership for everyone. And ultimately, if kids are in music lessons, they want their children to perform and share their music. Music is to be shared. And that requires some practice. That requires commitment from the entire family. And I think that we see that value, and parents really value the life skills they're getting, as well as how we can be successful. And I think I'd love to hear some of the other teachers from CNCM address this, but certainly my experience has been that students stayed with the program for years and years and years. I didn't have the dropout because they had ownership of what they were doing. They had input into selecting their music. They had input into selecting themes, especially for the full program. They had input as to which composers they could connect with. And these kids often reach out to composers and call them by their first names and just have lovely chats with them. They're no longer people that can't be approached. And this all becomes really important. If they're a sports child oriented, they have icons that they look up to. You know, the young hockey players have hockey players they relate to. But we need to do that in our music as well. And with the Canadian content requirement, that's one of the things we're doing. These kids can carry on intelligent conversations about, oh, I met so-and-so, or I had an email from so-and-so, and I sent my recording to this person. So it's just a really user-friendly, exciting, and I think has longevity for the child and the families.
So some of the areas that I kind of touched on in the slides, things like oral presentation, posters, programs, I think that they would become excellent broken down topics that we could make into a learning session. And it will be interesting to see if teachers that are viewing in would look at the syllabus and say, I would appreciate if someone could do um, have a conversation, an open discussion about certain topics. Like, tell me more about what this program needs to have in it. Tell me more about etiquette, like bowing, thanking the audience for coming. We all know that nerves play into some of these etiquette things, that they're sort of nervous and they just want to be done at the end for some of them. They can forget little things, but if it becomes part of what they practice at the lesson with their teacher, then there's less chance that it's going to get forgotten, because it's not something you throw at them as they're going out the door 1 or 2 lessons before the exam. All of these skills need to be taught and encouraged on a regular basis. So I think part of that leads to a stronger comfort level for the students doing their presentations.
I was actually going to ask you a little bit more about what performance etiquette looks like, but I think that you covered it really well
Yeah.
in your presentation and right
Yeah.
now.
And if you're going to practice this with your student, like teach them to stand and look happy, but not sway back and forth like a pendulum moving, or fidget one foot to the other, just to try and stay kind of calm looking. So that's something you have to practice. It's not maybe a natural thing to kids.
And even maybe looking at your audience, not looking at the ceiling and looking at the floor and, ooh, is there something out the window? You know,
Yeah,
um, but just staying focused and in the moment.
that's right. And as far as oral presentation, which could be another excellent topic to cover, but if anybody's asking, um, some students come and they're just right into this, and they've got pictures that go with each song, and they've either found them off calendars or downloaded them from the internet, or they've created pictures, and it's really exciting to experience what this means to those students. And because they're sharing something from themselves, they tend to relax with that, because they're the only ones that can tell you about what's going on in that situation. Yeah.
A quick question about the posters for the lower level. So it says that artwork is encouraged or a requirement actually of for
Right.
those. Is that in lieu of the actual titles being on the poster, or should they also have the titles
The
and
title of each piece should be there.
okay.
And the artwork could be a picture they've drawn, or something like it's a song about ponies or something, and they've made their own picture of a horse, or maybe they actually have their own horse and they put a picture of it on. So it can go a variety of ways, right? So that's to kind of engage their creativity, right? We're looking for some specific things like their name, the level they're doing, the date, place, time, that basic information. But yeah, after that, 4 pieces are named and they run with it, right?
Okay. And for the oral presentation, which you touched on as well, the example that's given is just kind of a one-line statement
Mhm.
of this piece by this composer makes me think of, I think it was like reptiles running around.
Yeah, it was the
Um,
dinosaur stomp that I put on the slide.
yeah.
Um,
Is that all that would be required, especially for the lower levels? Like just a one sentence quick comment?
Yeah, something brief, because probably a lot of the students doing those A, B, C, D levels are quite young. Um, but if you had a 12-year-old coming in, we might look for a little bit more. But we've kind of set a standard in the syllabus, so we have to look closely at what our expectation is for each level or grade. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. And I mean, the time is not very long for each recital as well. So,
Well, and my experience has been that those exams go through pretty quickly, right? Especially at those lower levels, they know, because part of it's because there's less work. Um, like less number of pieces to perform, it doesn't take as much time. They're right on the money with them. They're comfortable with it, and they move quite well.
Is there, because I know some of those younger level pieces are like 10 to 30 seconds long. Do the students get penalized if it's a recital that's very under the time limit? I think it was 10 minutes. Like if it was only 5 to 7 minutes, do they get
No,
penalized for that?
it is what it is, right? If their repertoire that they choose meets the criteria for that level, I mean, if it's a 30-second song, it's a 30-second song, right? Some of them are that you're being generous at 30 seconds. But that's okay
Definitely.
because that was a lot for them to get 4 of those ready to do, right?
Oh,
And
100%.
I didn't talk about this, but this is coming to mind with reviewing this. I just love how special this is to these kids because they come in and some of them are so dressed up and like it's wonderful to see that they still have that desire to make it special.
That's true. Catherine, do you have a question that we could help you with?
Mute. Okay, yeah. So this is all very new to me. I'm seeing Northern Lights for sale in Long and McQuaid, but it's great to see this discussion. I just wondered, has anybody done a workshop where they pull their kids together that are doing this and spend an afternoon making the poster, making the program, practice performing it? It seems like that would be a really fun thing to do.
Well, I can't say that CNCM has hosted such a situation, but I think teachers have done that
Yeah.
independently.
Yeah, for the teacher, it just seems like it'd be really
Yeah, it's a fun
Yeah.
group activity too.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's good. I think it's a very under-discussed performance. I remember doing my first program, which I think was junior recital. And yeah, it makes a difference when that's taken seriously.
Yep.
Yeah, Catherine, we've actually had a number of teachers who throw program parties.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This would make sense.
Exactly.
It would
And they
be
have a
cool.
great time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks. That I'm so happy to see that being taken seriously.
I think it goes back to it's important that the student feels that this is a momentous occasion in their lives. It's not just you blink your eyes and it's past, and then in 5 years you forget that you did that entirely. But
And it's not about, oh, I made one note mistake. It's going to be terrible. It's about this is life. And it didn't ruin the overall experience. Everybody loved you, loved what you did. And that's the value in it.
that's a good point. I have some other kind of all over the place questions. I was kind of looking over the requirements for this type of exam for the STAR Performance program. And I think that you covered this. I'm just going to make sure because I can sometimes feel like I know what I'm doing, and then I come to actually prepping a student for something, and I'm like, hang on, I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing. So just to clarify, there needs to be one Canadian selection in the program, and then it also states that there needs to be one selection from the Northern Lights or the Making Tracks series. That can be like the
One and the same.
same. Okay,
Yes, it can.
perfect. But they can have like all Canadian composers really
Right.
if they want to. And again, like if they're picking their pieces, like can they do as long as they're contrasting in um meter and tempo and stuff, could they do like all different types of jazz pieces, or should they have, or if they love the classical era, like do everything from the classical era or um something like that, or does that not change the style enough?
Well, that's where it comes down to well thought out preparation with the teacher and the planning. So that you're leaning more towards a theme exam. And that's not to say you can't have one. With there being 4 pieces, that gets a little trickier. But I mean, if someone wants to put in for a theme exam, by all means. Yep.
Okay.
One other
No.
thing, Lois, when we're talking about a Northern Lights piece, like a Canadian piece from a Northern Lights series, that does also cover making tracks, the whole making tracks series, the O Canada book, the 2 folk songs books, and any downloads and sheets. So anything basically that's been published by CNCM.
That makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Um,
And Louis, you were saying that sometimes you get into something and you think you've got a handle on what's going on, and then you suddenly think, oh, I'm not really sure. We can always get information if you go through the office, and you'll get support, or any teacher could get support from CNCM by contacting the office.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. A couple more questions just about the exam day. Um, could the musicianship exam be done on the same day as a performance exam if someone is working towards their full diploma for a certain level?
If they choose to do that amount of work in one day, yes.
Okay. And if a student does a star performance, and gets their full diploma for a level, which I think they need to do the star performance and the popular program and the musicianship to get their full diploma.
That's correct.
If they do one of those and then are like, oh, I think next time I actually want to try the more traditional program, are those credits kind of transferable between different programs?
They are, because a successful grade level is a successful grade level, so that's not going to change. And I think I spoke of it earlier, but that's a mix match thing. So someone might decide they want to do the 4-piece performance and a musicianship and just go on to the next grade. Pardon me.
That because
Excuse me.
there's no prerequisites, then that is more available that they can do that. Becky, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
following up on that about transitioning between different types of exams, how would it impact if a student is doing an exam for like a high school credit or for university applications, those sorts of things? Are all of the exam streams equally as valid for those types of external uses, or does it need to be the more traditional type of exam for that?
I can answer that one.
Thank you.
For universities especially, they're not looking at so much what they've done as what the audition does when they arrive in the general knowledge. So the answer is definitely yes for auditions. Once they have a full certificate for say grade 8, then where credits are recognized in the school system, as long as that grade is complete, it does not impact how they got the grade, because the work is very similar. By the time you do a popular and a star performance, the number of pieces are almost identical to what you're doing in the traditional anyway, and they still have the performance experience in the mini recital compared to the full grade. So
Wonderful, thank you.
Amazing. All right, I think I have all of the questions answered that I had about this specific program. Does anyone else have any other follow-up questions or something that hasn't been discussed yet? Perfect. All right. Well, we're at the 45-minute mark, so I think we're going to Just make sure that we stay within our time limit and respect everyone's time. And thank you everyone who came. This was a really good discussion. Thank you, Noreen, for your presentation. That was really helpful and very thorough. And hopefully we'll see you all like next time. Oh, Noreen, were you going to say something actually
Well,
about?
I was going to apologize for my croaky voice and coughing jags, so I do apologize for those interruptions. And my closing comments was basically, with all our CNCM programs, we aim for a holistic approach in learning, but ultimately we want to celebrate our students and our teachers and their successes. And I mentioned earlier, any questions, fire them off to the office. We'll be happy to get you answers. And anybody that attended today, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Can we just maybe talk about the upcoming events?
Yes.
Lois, do you want to talk about November 18th a little bit?
Yeah, so on November 18, we are going to have an exciting composer panel discussion for Canada Music Week. So I will be hosting that, and we'll get to talk to Martha Hill Duncan, to Nicholas Fairbanks, I believe is his, okay, and then Angelina Gibson as well. So that will be an exciting time to just be able to see some composers, get to know them a little bit better, and to have a good time discussing that. And are we also going to just touch on our upcoming teacher?
December the 5th.
Yes. So be sure to come back for December 5th, where we'll have some more exciting discussions and a presentation.
Thanks, Lois.